I thought obesity is the number one killer. That's the king of death in the United States. But being lonely actually is right up there with obesity, which is shocking to me.
It's right up there with obesity. It's right up there with smoking.
Uh,
Um, it is shocking. I think it's no loneliness is not just kind of a psychological bummer state. It actually changes your bodies. It changes your immune cells, and so I can talk a little bit about why that might be because I do think it's interesting. I worked with a geneticist, an immunogeneticist from UCLA, and we actually tested my own blood, which is not something you can do kind of at a normal doctor's visit, but he has access to like special labs and special ways to kind of identify the genes and the transcription factors, and all that going on in our white blood cells. So we looked at my blood, and sure enough, after the first time point, we did several time points after my divorce. And at the first time point, he said, you do look like you have the blood of a lonely person, which was
Wow.
like, ouch, that's terrible. But it also didn't really surprise me because I was getting sick, and we know that people who are lonely and identify as being lonely have increased risk, like 26% increased risk of early death, as well as increased risk of metabolic disease, cardiovascular disease, even things like Alzheimer's and dementia are worse in people who identify as being lonely. So this guy, Steve Cole, is asking these questions of why, like what is going on a genetic level that is making your immune cells more likely to get sick, or making your body more likely to get sick? What's changing your immune cells? And what he's found is that in these people who identify as being lonely, there's a suite of about 200 genes, and they are upregulating for inflammation. We know that inflammation, right, over a long period of time leads to disease. At the same time, they're down-regulating for the ability to fight viruses, which is really interesting because, especially for, like, I found this out as we were going into the pandemic. It's like, I need my virus fighting genes, right? And so his theory about why this is that our brains don't really make the distinction between feeling rejected in love, right, abandoned in love, and feeling literally abandoned, so that we're, in our sort of prehistoric state, right? We're stumbling through the jungle now by ourselves. And our immune system pays attention to that in a big way because our immune system recognizes that we face increased threat when we're alone. Humans are much safer when we're in a group. When we're alone, we're more likely to be attacked by a predator. We're more likely to receive a flesh wound, from something else. And we're not really in need of fighting viruses because viruses are spread in groups. So that's the theory. Like, our immune system is making this calculation that's supposed to help us. The problem is we live in modern life. We're probably not going to get jumped on by Jaguar. We are going to still face viruses. And we're in fact going to feel abandoned or feel lonely, some of us, for months and months and months and years and years and years. And so the inflammation is like the worst response to have in terms of our health.